Y'all, thank you for coming back to the Sandy Bottom Homestead. I gotta say, we got our first frost, and then we got our unexpected second frost, and I put up a simple cover, and I was testing out how these certain vegetables would make it through the frost, and I was surprised. I was totally shocked by it. So I just kind of want to show you what a simple low tunnel can do, or even just a cover of any kind can do for your garden when you get a frost. And also this kind of piggybacks off of our other video we did recently about the key to having a successful winter harvest. So here's the situation. We've got one bed with no cover, one bed with a simple frost cover or a low tunnel, which is basically a piece of plastic over it. And then we have a greenhouse, which is basically a glorified cold frame. And unbeknownst to me, we even have a seedling tray in this chair, which was totally unprotected. Here's the situation. We're supposed to get to 32 degrees, and we got to 31 degrees. But we had a nice stiff breeze that night, and the frost couldn't settle. Well, the next night it got to 34 degrees, but guess what happened? We had frost. So what I did is I knew it was gonna get close, so I just left everything like it was, covered, uncovered, however it was the day before, and just kind of rode it out. And the specific crop that we're talking about is our Pock Choy. So it's more sensitive of a crop. And I didn't cover this bed over here because honestly, I just didn't care. I was like, whatever, I've got enough, doesn't matter. Didn't feel like building another low tunnel. I'm gonna put onions in there soon anyways, and garlic. Just didn't matter. We put the low tunnel over this bed simply because we have our Pock Choy in it, and we also have our lettuce seedlings, which are starting to come along, but they're still very immature. So, you know, we didn't do anything for that, or we covered it because we didn't want those lettuce seedlings to go to waste. And then we have our greenhouse over here. Now, we did everything we would do in the middle of winter for it. The vent closed itself, we shut the door, and then we put in the louver window in the corner over here, and we shut that. So everything else was good, and we brought in plants and stuff like that. But we knew everything in here would be good, so this was kind of our control, right? This is time and time again, it's been tested, 5+ degrees at night over what the low is. I think it got to 31 degrees and it was 39 in there. So this was kind of our control for it. We knew how these plants would function. And you know what, let's go ahead and look at this Pock Choy. Pock Choy, whatever. If I call it Pock Choy, it's, you know what it is. And we'll see how they are kind of establishing themselves now. So they basically made it through unfazed. They're looking very good. We're getting very, very close to harvest time. Couldn't be happier about it. So we knew that this was going to be the story for this one. Now, I'm going to go to the bed right now that's not covered and just kind of show you how. Now, these are young seedlings. They've probably been in the ground about 2 weeks, which means their roots haven't really gotten settled. So I really didn't have high hopes for them. And we'll show you the difference between these seedlings and the seedlings in the bed that we covered is about a week's difference. So just remember that when you see these. So this is the uncovered bed, and you can see nothing really got damaged. I'm super surprised by that myself. I can't believe that they didn't really get damaged too much. We did come in a couple days before and finish off this bed, so you can see it's totally full. And yeah, they didn't do anything, but they did not die. So that was a surprise to me. I totally expected to come out and just have death across the board there. Now, we did come back and then we checked on this bed. And so this is the bed that we covered. This is the unknown about how much of a difference it makes. I know it helps for a fact. And I know that the recovery time afterwards, which is what we talked about in the video previously, which is, you know, how warm does it get the next day to help it recover from that frost that occurred. And we left it on there, and we actually left it on there pretty tight that day. I wanted to go ahead and just warm that soil up as much as I could, and I left it on the next night. So we know that 2 things for the low tunnel. With the plastic on it, it keeps the frost off of the plants, so that's a good thing. And then the second thing, and the most important thing, is it raises the temperature faster during the day. So we have a lot of recovery going on in here, and the roots are staying warmer, so they're not getting damaged. And this really does show the difference in that. Now remember, there's only a week's difference in these two plants, but look at the difference. So the first few, which this is the darker side of the bed, probably stayed a little bit colder, but let me just step over this. Would you look at that? It actually just continued to grow. It just grew. These grew over those 2 days, and I couldn't believe it. I cannot believe how well this low tunnel did to protect these plants. It was not an outcome I saw coming, I gotta tell you. And I know I don't use a lot of low tunnels. I have one low tunnel, and I am planning to put in at least one more, at least be prepared to use one more, maybe not necessarily use it, but be prepared. But just that being said, like the amount of growth that occurred over that time from, like, these didn't miss a beat, whereas these kind of slowed down. So that was very interesting to me, because this just kind of parrots what I've been saying, is when you're doing this and you're covering your plants, you're allowing them to continue more and more growth. And I'm going to tell you, I'm sold. You know, not that I wasn't sold before, but this really did help, because I know that these are more of a frost sensitive plants than the other ones. Not to mention the lettuce kept growing. We've actually seen, it's been 4 or 5 days. And I mean, look, let's not trip. I'm in zone 8A in North Carolina. It's 80 degrees today. Okay, I'm hot wearing this shirt. I wish I was wearing a tank top, but I'm not. But even that being said, the lettuce, we have very little control over as far as which, like, uncovered versus covered, but it still continued to grow as well, and it's continuing to grow. And at this point, it's time to come out and thin them so we can get them down to 1 head per area. And you can see, I mean, I couldn't be happier about the outcome of this. And these ones over here, so this is Tom Thumb leaf lettuce. And this is a Jericho romaine, and we had a rough go with the temperatures when it was real hot, but they are starting now to really take off, and it will just be a matter of time before we can start harvesting some lettuce. Now, the only way that we have a control over the lettuce is what's in the greenhouse, and they may have been planted a couple days apart, but let's walk into the greenhouse and just look at the Tom Thumb lettuce that we planted right around the same time. Couple days isn't going to make a big difference. And now we do have to remember, and I have to say this for myself for the record, so I'm not tripping, it's a lot warmer in here during the day. We're easily still hitting 83, 84, 85 degrees in here during the day. But even with the windows open and stuff, it's staying warmer at night. And so that's allowing a little bit more growth. But the Tom Thumb lettuce in here is, I'd say, roughly about twice as big. So, I mean, we're going in the right direction here. And that's just the power of covering your crops. Here's another one that I left. That's actually a little bit, I spilled some seeds, so you can see how much faster it's growing. Something as simple as covering your garden with a cheap low tunnel. And I did it in the last one, and I'll do it again. I'll link to the video where I'm building the low tunnel. And you can see how that in itself is so easy. It's so cheap. I believe for the cost to build the low tunnel, now I did have to buy a bigger roll of plastic, and that's why I'm building more, just because I have extra plastic, so it's like, why not? And at this point, this plastic I've been using is 3 years old. This is the 3rd season, and I'm probably going to be able to get a 4th, and I would estimate even a 5th season out of it. You're looking at 20 bucks per bed. So 20 bucks per bed, which may seem like a lot, but when you break it down like this, it's actually not that bad, considering in this bed in itself, we've got 8 Pock Choy plants and probably 30 heads of lettuce. That's 20 bucks in itself. So that's going to pay for itself in the 1st season. That's the way I look at it. I could be wrong. You may not agree with me. Not to mention, we also have a row of radishes in there, but I mean, you can get radishes for like 2 bucks, so it's not a big deal. But that being said, like, make sure if you're growing something and you're not sure, just go ahead and cover them, man. take the time, put up a low tunnel, check out the video at the end that'll show you how to build a low tunnel. Super easy, and just make it happen. Oh, there's a bee flew in my hand. But I hope your guys' garden's going well. And if you've had a first frost, let us know how you fared through that first frost, because just because you had a frost, if you have the right plants, doesn't mean that your season's necessarily over.